Hi, boys and girls. This is Grandma Sheila, and I have this week's story for you. Our story today is called The Conductor's Mistake. In a busy railroad station, there stood an old man. He was clean and that, but his coat was old and out of fashion. And when he moved, it was easy for the people to see that he was lame in one leg, so he limped. Well, the conductor, seeing him stand there, went over to him and he said, "You better get up on the train quick, Limpy." And he took his hand and he papped the man on the shoulder. That old man didn't say anything. The baggage man was busy loading everybody's suitcases into the train, and everything was bustling along. The whistle rang that said the train was getting ready to go, but still the old man stood there. Finally, when the very last train car came up beside him, the little old man limped over and got in the last car, and he sat down in an empty seat. Well, he was kind of tired, so he was glad to be sitting down. It wasn't too long till the conductor came by. Now, the conductor's job is to go through the cars and collect the tickets that the people have gotten. And when the train isn't there, he collects money and sells tickets to people from the little ticket booth at the train station. But here he was going from person to person. He would stop at one seat and he would say, "Ticket, please." And the people would hold up their ticket and give it to them. He would look at them. If somehow they had made a mistake and didn't have a ticket to go that far, he would go, "You can pay me for it right now." And he would get the ticket or money, and he would put it all in his pocket, which he would take back to the ticket booth when all this trip was done. When he reached the old man, he looked at him and he said, "Your ticket, give it to me quick." The man just looked at him. And then he said, "I don't pay." And the young conductor looked at him and he said, "What do you mean you don't pay?" He said, "I don't have to pay." He said, "I'll see about this." And he reached down and off the floor, he grabbed the man's suitcase. In those days, those smaller suitcases were called valances. And he grabbed that valance and he started to pull it away from the old man. And the man went, "Not so rough, young man. You better watch out." So, not being able at that moment to grab that valance, he looked at the man and he said, "I'll have you thrown off at the next station." Then he kind of readjusted his nice blue coat with the gold buttons down it. And he started down the row, being as polite as he could to those well-dressed, handsome people. "Ticket, please," he said politely. And all through the car he went. Well, when he got further back in that last train car, a man got real close to the conductor. He gave him his ticket and he said, "Do you know who that man is that you were talking to back there and trying to take his valance away?" The conductor said, "No, I don't know. Who is he?" And the man said, "That is Warburton, Mr. Warburton. He is the owner of this railroad." And the young man's eyes got big, and he realized he had made a terrible mistake. He said, "How do you know that's him?" The man said, "Because we're friends." So the young conductor continued on down the line till he'd gotten all the tickets, and he took it all back to the office. He sat down. What was he going to do? Yes, he had made a terrible mistake. He knew he should be fired for the way he had treated a passenger, no matter what passenger it was. But the president of the railroad, he sat there trying to figure out what to do. Finally, he gathered up all the tickets and all the money that he had gathered that day. And he went back to that very last car on the train. He stood by the seat where that old man sat, and the man looked at him almost kindly. And the young man, the young conductor, he took all that money and all those tickets out of his pocket, and he set them down there on the seat by that old man, and he said, "I resign my position, sir." Resign means that he was quitting. And the old man, he started looking at those tickets and that money, and he kept going through it all. Finally, he looked up at the young man and he said, "I have no desire for revenge against you. You didn't do what you should have done. I think you know that every single customer on the railroad is important, and every single one of them should be treated with utmost kindness, no matter if they're rich or poor, ladies or men or children. It's your job to be kind to them and courteous, not be rude." The young man stood there. The conductor had asked him to sit down, so he did in the empty seat beside Mr. Warburton. And Mr. Warburton talked kindly to him. He reminded him of what his job was, and he reminded him of how to treat people. Then he turned to him again and he said, "I don't plan to fire you today. Yes, I have the authority to do that." All this he had been saying in a very low tone, so all the people around him wouldn't hear. Well, there was more than that one man in that train car that knew the owner of the railroad. And they'd all been looking kind of curiously to see what would happen to that rude young man. The president looked at him again and he said, "Now, if you change your ways and treat everyone like a valuable customer, you may keep your job." The young man apologized. He had been wrong. And he thanked the older man for his kindness. He picked up all that money in those tickets, and he shamefacedly made his way back to put it all in the office. And boys and girls, do you think he was ever rude to somebody that wasn't dressed as fancy as all the others, or who was old, or who limped again? I don't think he did. I think he learned his lesson, and he was never rude to people again. And boys and girls, the lesson is for all of us. You can't judge a person by what they might have on that day. You cannot judge them by what they order in a restaurant. You can't judge them by the fact that they may limp or be wounded in some way. Everyone is God's child, and we need to treat them like everyone is a child of the King, a child of God. Thank you, boys and girls, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.